Hello, crew. Captain Foley and Commander Calkins are back for another great Trekyards episode. Did you miss us? Well, we certainly hope not. You do get to see us every week, after all.
Today we are revisiting the Saber class starship, first seen on screen in Battle of Sector 001 at the beginning of Star Trek First Contact. Now this is a little cool ship, and we're happy to show her off in this episode in our fine, amazing new glory.
But please be aware that there is a ton of conflicting information on the ship, and we have done our best to bring it all to you in one cohesive episode and present it in a way that makes sense. And we'll let you decide which you feel is most appropriate. We hope you appreciate how difficult it can be sometimes to acquire much of this information from multiple sources and kind of make it an entertaining and enjoyable Trekyards episode. So with all that being said, without further delay, we bring you the Saber class.
Okay, so it's fair to say this is a really cool little ship. However, its size can be a little suspect depending on the source you look at. The official DSI technical manual lists its length as 364 meters. But this could possibly be confused with the Norway class, as it's the exact same length for a very differently dimensioned ship. So it could be a publishing error with those accidentally reprinting. The Industrial Light and Magic size chart for the movie First Contact shows it being 223 meters. However, the VFX supervisor for that film, David Stipes, has said the overall length was 190.5 meters, and that was generally used on screen. And finally, the digital Muse version of that ILM Saber 3D model used in the DS9 Battle CGI has a default scale of 188. So a little bit all over the place, but at least the last two sort of roughly the same.
Yeah, they're not too far off, so that's fine. It is also not 100% agreed upon as to how the class name Saber is spelt, as both American Saber and the British Sabre. One thing that all the sources do agree on, however, is the crew complement of 40 to 60 with a 200 personnel evacuation limit and 8 to 10 decks, again, depending on source material.
Comparing this to the Defiant, which has 50 crew and 4 decks, and the comparable in size Nova class with a crew of 80 and 8 decks. So it's all about the same in comparable size ships.
I think the smaller or mid-range length seems more appropriate. Now, this is a light cruiser or fast frigate and is powered by one 1500 plus Cochrane warp core, which fed 2 warp nacelles, which gave it a maximum speed of warp 9.7 for 12 hours and a normal cruising speed of warp 7.
Entering service in 2358, which is 12 years before the Intrepid class was launched, with the purpose of replacing the outdated Oberth class starships. It was primarily used in conjunction with the Steamer class of ship. The two classes would complement and support each other. Small, fast, high maneuverable, and well armed.
The Saber was equipped with 4 Type 10 phaser emitters and 2 photon torpedo launchers, and carried a complement of 45 completed torpedoes, as well as components required to manufacture an additional 15 photon torpedoes of various configurations, should the need arise.
A well-armed little ship, which is why she was featured so prominently in the Battle of Sector 001. In fact, on rewatching the battle, this class is in fact the most represented, with 4 ships seen on screen at any one time. And let's not forget about the Dominion War, which the Saber class can be seen in many of the battles.
The overall design was somewhat more compact than other Federation ships and seemed to be part of Starfleet's new design concept of flatter, sleeker starships, as we see in the Defiant, the Sovereign, and the Prometheus, just to name a few. The ship also had a bridge layout similar to the Defiant design, and this design was in fact adopted by many of the new breed of Federation starships.
Main engineering was on Deck 1, with the primary warp core being located on Deck 2, and the deuterium storage and antimatter storage pods down on Deck 7. So the antimatter was pumped up to the main intake valves on the warp core.
The Saber is one of the few ships that has a warp core running horizontally along the middle line of the ship. The core can therefore be ejected out the rear of the ship if needed. So in essence, it's the most destructive rear-facing weapon in all of Starfleet.
It should also be noted, however, this information does vary from source to source, and some say the Saber is in fact equipped with a vertical warp core configuration, but as we never saw the inside of a Saber over the course of the show, this sort of thing is hard to prove either way.
This design also featured 2 computer cores, as did almost all starships of the era, with the primary one occupying space on decks 2 and 3, just to starboard of the bridge module, and the secondary core being located in the mirrored position on the port side. Now, since this is such a small ship and the design was maximized for scientific or tactical usage, it did have limited recreational facilities on board. These included 2 holosuites on Deck 5.
These suites are of course smaller than even the standard holodecks, and as such cannot handle as many variables or provide the level of detail that a standard holodeck can provide. The ship also has a phaser range, gymnasium, hydroponics bay, and observation lounge, which was located on the forward edge of Deck 5. So, forward 5 Not quite as catchy, but to each their own.
Forward. I mean, that's all right. Sounds good to me. High five forward.
Yeah.
The main deflector dish occupies the front sections of deck 8 and 9 and can be manually moved 5 degrees in any direction off the ship's z-axis. Power for the sensor systems comes from 2 graviton polarity generators located on deck 10, with main long-range navigational deflector controls being located immediately behind the deflector on deck 8.
Well, since this ship has replaced the older Beth class ship, it's basically the newest Federation science vessels. And yes, some of you may have thought that was the Nova. Nope. The Nova class is the new exploration class, with Intrepid being the long-term exploration class. Everyone clear? Good. Anyway, let's get into a little detail about the sensor systems on board. You know, we all love the sensor systems.
It's important. Starfleet. So, lateral sensor pallets, or short-range sensors, are located around the rim of the entire ship, providing full coverage in all standard scientific fields, but with the emphasis in the following areas: astronomical phenomenon, planetary analysis, remote life form analysis, EM scanning, passive neutrino scanning, parametric subspace field stress, which essentially is just a scan that searches for cloaked ships, thermal variances, and quasi-stellar material. Each sensor pallet, 16 in all, can be interchanged and recalibrated with any other pallet on the ship.
The ship also has its 18 independent tactical sensors. Each sensor automatically tracks and locks onto incoming hostile vessels and reports bearing, aspect, distance, and vulnerability percentages to the main tactical station located on the bridge. Each tactical sensor is approximately only 80% efficient against ECM electronic countermeasures and can operate fairly well in a particle flux nebulae, which has hitherto been impossible. So well done, Saber class. So just in general, a nice step forward in Federation technology.
There are a total of 8 science labs located on Deck 4. 2 of the labs are dedicated biology, chemistry labs, capable of also being used for medical purposes should the need arise. The remaining 6 were multi-purpose facilities and could be adjusted to the needs of the mission profile.
There are 2 forward-facing shuttle bays located on Deck 5, with main shuttle bay number 2 being the larger of the 2 because it houses the maintenance facilities for the shuttle. The standard shuttles carried on board are 2 Type 18 shuttle pods, 2 Type 6 shuttlecrafts, 2 work bees, and 1 Type 10 shuttlecraft.
Due to this ship's versatility, it could be assigned to any number of mission profiles, including Federation policy and diplomacy, so essentially just transporting various diplomatic personnel to different locations, ongoing scientific investigation, or tactical defensive operations and emergency search and rescue. Now, each of these mission profiles did require additional mission-specific equipment, such as more labs or increased weapon storage, and the ship was configured and outfitted accordingly.
The ship has a total of 56 5-person escape pods, and each pod had enough life support and provisions for 90 days in space. While there are no pods directly attached to the bridge, there are however 2 escape pods located on Deck 2 that are specifically reserved for the top 4 officers in the chain of command, because they are the last 4 to leave the ship.
As the number of experienced captains in Starfleet began to dwindle due to the Borg and as well as the Dominion War,
those little things, those little incidents in the...
Yeah. The notion of the captain going down with his ship had been abolished. If the ship needed to be abandoned, the top 4 officers would wait till everyone was safely off the ship and then opt to arm the auto-destruct, which was not always necessary but was there if needed, and then leave in the 2 remaining escape pods.
So on to some behind the scenes. The Saber class was designed by the amazing Alex Yeager. Give his proper title, The Amazing. It was one of the 4 new Federation ships designed for this movie. The design direction of these new ships was simple. Nothing new could look like the brand new Enterprise Z, and thus avoid confusion in the frantic battle at the start of the movie. I think he did a good job there, because all of the 4 are a bit different.
Alex described the design as, I don't recall the actual numbers, I just remember saying it was about the size of the Enterprise's saucer section. He also recalls that the original sketch of the ship had the escape pods lined up along the secondary hull on either side of the Starfleet pennant, but when he modeled it, something changed and he moved them back onto the saucer section.
This design was of course seen in Trek gaming, such as Armada 2 and Starfleet Command Volume 3, as the smallest ship available in Star Trek DS9, The Dominion Wars, and is featured in Star Trek Online with multiple variants and custom skins for anyone who wants to play the class in 2019. Just go. It's available. You can play the entire game with it and save the universe.
But interestingly enough, in Armada 2, the ship was equipped with pulse phasers, and in the player's manual says that the first prototypes were hurried into production to defend against the Borg, and is a destroyer like the Defiant. But this was for a tactical video game, so take that for what it's worth. So
Yeah, everything's revolved around battle when the gameplay is battle, and it's like, no, it's not.
But now it's time to just kind of discuss what we think about the design. I actually really like this ship. It's got such a unique shape and unique profile, yet still remains decidedly Federation looking. It's got the standard Federation flare, so...
It's actually grown on me, I think. Before Trekyards, I think it was one of those odd ships. But I think, no, it's surprisingly well balanced. It's not necessarily a pretty ship, but it doesn't feel all over the place. There's a sense of function to the madness. Maybe it's a little bit too flat here, but it's interesting. And all the iterations on how you design deflector, how you design the nacelles. It's not a kit bash. There's a lot of creativity that went into here. And considering the low quality of the 3D model produced in ILM, how good it looks in the movie is a real well done to that team. And then the Eagle Moss version, which was high-end reproduced by Fabio. He upscaled it all, rebuilt it, redesigned a few things, just enhanced it for printing. Really does give it this new level of detail that we never saw before. And you'll see both the versions of that model in this episode. So it's nice to see it get even a new life. I think in 2016 when the model came out. I think it definitely should be used more, although I'm glad it was used in DS9. But again, they couldn't get that close to camera because it's a pretty low quality model at the time. So, yeah.
Yeah. I would have liked to see it more personally, and like, some up close would have been nice, but
Yeah.
it could have been worse. I mean, it could have been the Steam Runner. I hate the Steam Runner class, but that's another discussion for another day. I think out of the 4 new ships we got for this movie, it is probably... I'm going to say my second favorite right after the Akira, but then we also have the Norway class, which is kind of a cool design in and of itself. So they kind of jockey for second and third place depending on what I feel like, what my mood is. But the Steam Runner is definitely dead last. So
Basically, Alex Yeager's awesome.
well, absolutely, yeah.
But what's your thoughts, though, on its mission profile specifically? It was designed to look different. I don't think Alex said, oh, that's obviously a tactical ship, or that's obviously a science ship. Based on the conflicting information, what's your gut reaction to what really this services in the fleet as a purpose? 'Cause it's such a unique looking ship.
I'd say it's got more of a scientific vibe to it. It doesn't look nearly as aggressive as, say, the Akira or the Norway specifically. It's got more of a gentle kind of look to it. I don't know. I would say more scientific based on how it looks. And I like the inclusion of the sensor palette information, how there's so many sensor palettes around it that it's designed kind of for that. But that could also be used tactically as well. So,
Well, I think post Borg, post Dominion War, or at least during, every ship becomes far more flexible. In a combat, in any situation where you might run into Dominion, right, run into, when you were fighting the Klingons, if you haven't got the newest phasers and very high-end torpedoes and the newest, all you have to do is update the phaser grids, torpedoes, which is the armament, just, upgrade to Mark 13 rather than Mark 11 and have a better shield matrix, and there you go, you've got a more offensive and defensive capable ship. There aren't many ships, I don't think, in the modern era of Trek which are actively designed to be weak. So I think for the most part these are all capable of fighting just fine. It's then just a limit of power to shield ratio, but they're clearly smaller, clearly more of a fleet ship, as we say in the script, designed with the greater fleet with Steam Runner and stuff in mind. So I think most ships are more balanced these days. It doesn't feel ultra tactical. It hasn't got any visible, bigly visible torpedo launchers. I think if it had like a weapons pod here, that might balance out the design a bit more, and then it would look more tactical. Maybe like imagine if it had like 2 quantum launchers right there, maybe a dedicated quantum gunboat. Then I think that'd work really nicely. Small profile, easy to dodge shots. But I think smaller size, efficient warp geometry, easy use of shuttle bays. I think it's definitely sort of mid-range discovery vessel and just doing general things. More of a workhorse, maybe a Miranda replacement.
yeah, I could see that for sure.
And I mean, obviously, since it's Starfleet, any ship is going to have good sensors and good, the palettes are still going to be darn good, maybe just not as specialized. So they can all be used to quickly investigate the nebula and quickly investigate that anomaly. So I think they're all still pretty flexible.
Yeah, it definitely adds something new to the Federation fleet, and it's a nice shape, nice look, and I'm thankful that it's part of the fleet now. So, nice little ship.
And it's probably it's on that fine line of almost too far, and yet still at home in the fleet.
But anyway, I think that's probably it for this discussion on the Saber class, guys. What do you think about this design? Is it one of your favorites? Is it, one of the new 4 for First Contact? What did you think of it? How does it rank in your number system of that new design philosophy? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click notification icons so you get notified every time we upload new content, which is quite often. We like doing this kind of thing for you guys. So. And don't forget to check out a lot of the links in the description. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there, including some Trekyards merchandise, the Teespring store, and some other great stuff as well. And our Patreon, which is important, which Samuel's going to talk about right now.
Yes, it's a scheme that a lot of YouTubers use and a lot of just content creators use. It's a backbone of support that fans of ours, people that want to see content like this and new content, new interviews, new things, and just support what we do. They can donate each and every month, kind of like a Netflix or a Hulu, but you get to ensure that we keep going, and without that support, we really can't. But that's not just the only way than donating that monthly thing. You can also try our Super Chat lives, where we discuss topics, new Trek updates, past things, even non-Trek debates and topics that you can join in the live, talk to us live, which we love, talk to the community, and then give a Super Chat, which is a really super way of supporting the channel. If we get each... Well, it's another form of funding that allows us to keep going and be confident in keep going and plan new trips, new events, new guests, and keep doing cool things. So lots of ways to help us out.
That's right. So until next time, guys, on another cool ship, I'm Captain Foley.
And Connor Kungs.
See you later, guys.
Bye, guys.